Alrighty, so I just finished the storyline here for Grounded 2, at least the storyline that we currently have available in early access at the time of recording this video. We're going to go over some things that absolutely blew me away that I really do love and enjoy, some things that I thought unfortunately were a little underwhelming that I think needed some little, more love or more TLC. And lastly, we're going to talk about some things sort of like a wish list that I hope do make it into the game at some point in time to really take this game to the next level. Alrighty, so starting things off, let's dive into the storyline. I think the storyline for Grounded 2, at least at its current state right now at its launch for early access, is pretty good, right? I think they do a good job of it's really self-explanatory, but they do a good job of like keeping you on your toes, right? Like you want to know who this mystery person is. Is it a scientist that Omni-tool did wrong at some point in time? Is it another test subject? Is it another child? Is it something from Grounded 1? I mean, you name it, right? You're constantly wondering what's going on with this figure. With that being said, same thing with Sloan. You're utilizing Sloan via like the communications computer inside of the game to then also combat and do more quests and missions to discover who this person is and how to stop them, and how to stop them from actually causing issues and more issues for Omni-tool. And obviously the entire time your goal or mission is try to save Burgle, right, the robot, right? So I think they do a really good job of painting the storyline. Now for me personally, where I think things fell a little bit short for the storyline that is currently available in the game as of right now with the current early access build, is the ending fight. It felt very underwhelming to me and my cooperative partner. I have a cooperative partner that I play a lot of games co-op with, and me and him, we played, I would say we had roughly maybe 35 hours of Grounded 2 under our belt, and we saved like the last 2 to 3 missions on purpose, right? We wanted to make sure we grinded out a full gear set. We found out which gear set we wanted to run, what role we wanted to play with the archetypes and everything. I went more of a tanky kind of, taunting build to hold in a lot of that aggro. He went with the full-on rogue, wolf spider set, and was just absolutely destroying this final boss fight with the, the masked stranger, if you will. And I think the fight was very quick. It was very fast. We did a megaton of damage. Neither one of us died. We didn't really struggle at all with, maintaining it or beating it. And I think for me, that was a little underwhelming because you're kind of like building up to this entire thing, 30 plus hours building up. We probably could have been a little bit sooner, but building it up there, it just felt like the fight lasted really, really short compared to what I would have expected with like a main storyline boss fight. With that being said, though, it's important to note that I don't think the storyline is really what captivated me or got me interested so much into Grounded 2 as it was things like the, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibe, right? You've got these kids shrunk down into a grassy terrain area fighting bugs that would typically be way smaller than them that you're not scared of for the most part. I mean, you have arachnophobia and spiders and stuff, but for the most part, I mean, like these ants and beetles and stuff, like you wouldn't give a time of day in as your normal size. So again, that whole thing really intrigued me, and that's what really attracted me here to Grounded 2, not necessarily the storyline. As if you don't know, I did not play Grounded 1, so I have nothing to really compare it to besides, what is offered here in Grounded 2 from a new player's perspective. And now next up, let's talk about another feature that I absolutely love that was introduced, and that is the Omni-tool. Now, the Omni-tool, if you don't know, is basically a universal tool. Like in survival crafting games, how you always normally have a variety of tools on your hotbar that you have to craft one by one in order for you to do that action, right? For instance, you need a axe for, chopping trees, right? Chopping grass in Grounded. You also need like a hammer, if you will, to, smash stones. You've also need things like a pickaxe to mine certain materials. I mean, you name it, right? There's a variety of different tools in survival crafting games. Well, the Omni-tool was a brand new thing that was introduced here for Grounded 2. From my understanding, it was not available in Grounded 1. This is brand new to Grounded 2, and honestly, through all of the survival crafting games that I have played and continue to play, I think this is also a unique tool tool to Grounded 2 specifically here, as one tool does everything, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, if you will. It, one, saves a lot of bag storage space if you're carrying a bunch of tools around on your hotbar that you can now utilize those slots for something else more important. Two, it saves a lot of time inside of your bag space, so you can hold a lot more materials, a lot more resources for crafting or for analyzing for Grounded 2. And on top of that here, I think it just makes a lot of sense. I love the fact that you don't have to worry about managing these tools, whether they're going to break and you're out on an adventure, but yet you can't harvest the new material that you need. I mean, you name it, the list goes on. I'm absolutely a huge fan of the Omni-tool. But my absolute favorite thing here for Grounded 2 probably has to be the buggy system. Coming off of a game like Ark Survival Ascended, for instance, that I love taming different creatures and dinos and finding out their special abilities and utilizing those abilities to farm resources efficiently, right? The buggy system kind of hits at home for me. I love how fast they move. I love how it's basically a mount to help you, quickly traverse the map, which I think is really awesome. But on top of that, I mean, they also provide unique benefits according to which ones that you have. And at the current build version of the game, you only have the red soldier ant, and then you have the orb weave spider. So again, really cool mechanics. I love how they have different, use cases for the different buggy system, and I'm very excited to see the new buggies that they come out. Obviously, like they've mentioned here via the roadmap in the near future. Now, with that being said, let's talk about areas where I think Grounded 2 could use some improvement. And that leads us here to gear sets, or the archetype class-based system in Grounded 2, all right? In Grounded 2, they basically leaned in a little heavy into the, RPG side of things, from my understanding, compared to Grounded 1, where there's going to be a lot more weapons and weapon types that really cater into a full-on build, and then the gear sets and armor basically that you can craft from killing different insects and collecting different resources and analyzing it also will help cater into whatever the playstyle is that you prefer as a player. And with that being said, I think currently at its current state, it's very off balance, right? I feel like if you want the maximum amount of DPS and even survivability at this point, I think you have to go rogue, right? I think the wolf spider armor in the rogue build is very, very strong, like super strong. And it's not like your typical standard rogue where it's like a glass cannon, right? Where you get like high damage, but you have like low health and you instantly die. That's just simply not the case. Like in Grounded 2, it provides enough benefits and enough stats basically for all of the classes, in my opinion, to survive, but there's some trade-offs that I think are massive compared to others. So for instance, like the rogue build is very, very strong. I feel like every player should probably be running a rogue build at this point, at least at the current state of the game, to get the maximum, like I said, survivability and damage output. Range, you definitely need ranged in the class. There's tons of stuff that can be cheesed, and not being able to shoot it from a range perspective and instead trying to do a melee, face-to-face thing sometimes is a lot harder, a lot more challenging, and simply just undoable. So obviously there's a little bit of a balance shift there. Now let's talk about the tank build, all right? So for me personally, in my cooperative playthrough, I am playing a tank build, which I'm trying to do more of a melee bruiser kind of build, not necessarily a tank where I'm, pulling all the aggro. And I feel like as of right now, that's simply impossible to do. You can use a variety of melee weapons, which is nice, which are close quarters, a shield, obviously, to get up in close combat, but a lot of the perks and stuff around the best, what you would call, I guess, melee or warrior type, gear is all centered around this taunt mechanic, right? Or mechanics that relate to playing cooperatively with other people. And in my playthrough, obviously it makes sense. I do have a cooperative friend, but if I wanted to play this solo or single player and still have that melee aspect, I don't really get that based on the gear that is currently in the game. You're kind of taking a massive hit, I feel like, to damage output by, this taunt ability or the ability to revive in, teammates faster. I mean, you name it, it seems like it's lackluster in those areas, and I think it kind of forces the hand of a lot of players to mid-max their damage by just running, rogue at the current state. So I would like to see a lot of variation and changes to the armor sets and, the different archetypes and classes to hopefully balance it out to make it really fun for multiplayer, playthroughs, but also for single player playthroughs. And speaking on fights and random mobs and stuff that you discover throughout the world, another thing that I want to mention here that is something that took away from the experience, in my opinion, is a lot of it feels very cheesable, right? Where I was able to find my way or weasel my way into an area where they couldn't reach me. I could hit them with range, whether that's going to be with a bow or even with the staff, sometimes even poke them through the wall without them being able to hit me. I mean, you name it. There was a lot of like cheese moments where a lot of players are able to utilize these things to their advantage to then, skip past what should otherwise, in my opinion, be a more challenging fight compared to these standard mobs you run across. And that is something, obviously, I think that will be fixed over time as, the game is developed in early access stage. A lot of these cheeses are probably going to be fixed, managed, patched, and, made, making these fights a lot more challenging, which is something that I do absolutely look forward to. And the same thing goes for this challenge mechanic that I am missing. That brings us to the new Axel boss that was actually announced and, revealed here, I believe at Gamescom this year. So Axel, basically from my understanding, is going to be this giant tarantula spider. If you haven't checked out my video, go check it out. I did do the full Games Gone coverage over there. I believe it's like a 5 to 6 minute video. Definitely worth a watch. But basically, the developers talked about how they're going to be bringing in like this, big world boss challenge. It's going to have 3 different phases, a bunch of different mechanics for you to learn and to get used to. And the boss themselves, or the devs themselves, stated that one of the only ways to really learn those mechanics is going to be to die over and over again until you master the mechanics in order for you to beat that boss. And that is something that I'm absolutely looking forward to. So naturally, I think this point might be mute in a couple of updates or even into 2026 when they do add a lot of this challenge back in with these new world bosses. So here's where I stand on Grounded 2. Even in its early access launch, I think it is a massive blast, dude. There's so much fun to be had here when diving in and playing the game. Obviously, it's not perfect, but I think the foundation is very solid. Everything from the buggy system, the new Omni-tool, you've got the combat in the game, you even have the archetypes and, RPG kind of elements that you can really try to build and spec out your character according to your play style, along with your friends if you're playing multiplayer. I mean, you name it, it's all here. I just want to see them push it further. We're talking more buggies, tougher bosses, new gear sets, new archetypes, gear set refinements. I mean, the potential for this game is massive, and I'm really looking forward to what's next. But that's just where I am here with Grounded 2. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Did the masked stranger, fight at the very end to live up to your expectations, or did you walk away expecting something a little bit more, as I did? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe here on the channel for more Grounded 2 content. And with that being said, as always, guys, I'll see ya on the next one.